CLEP Introduction to Educational Psychology Questions and Answers. Question 1. One interesting clue says the class start feeling nervous after a certain chime is repeatedly paired with a pop quiz. Which educational psychology term fits for PRIA? Option A, metacognition. Option B, classical conditioning. Option C, constructivism. Option D, operant conditioning. The correct answer is option B. Classical conditioning. This describes classical conditioning because a neutral stimulus becomes linked with an emotional response after repeated pairings. Metacognition is not the best choice because it concerns thinking about one's own thinking, not learned emotional associations. Constructivism is different because it explains active meaning making, not a reflexive conditioned response. Operant conditioning does not fit because it focuses on consequences after behavior rather than associations before a response. Question 2. From this example, where an instructor adds praise after a student participates and participation increases, which answer should PRIA select? Option A, positive reinforcement. Option B, punishment. Option C, extinction. Option D, negative reinforcement. The correct answer is option A. Positive reinforcement. This describes positive reinforcement because a desirable consequence is added after a behavior, making that behavior more likely. Punishment is not the best choice because it aims to reduce behavior rather than increase it. Extinction is different because it weakens behavior by withholding reinforcement. Negative reinforcement does not fit because it removes an unpleasant condition rather than adding a reward. Question 3. Students in a practice test workshop discuss why the class complete homework early to avoid a weekly reminder call home. Which concept gives the best explanation? Option A, response cost. Option B, positive reinforcement. Option C, negative reinforcement. Option D, classical conditioning. The correct answer is option C. Negative reinforcement. This describes negative reinforcement because a behavior increases because it helps the learner avoid or remove something unpleasant. Response cost is not the best choice because it removes a privilege after misbehavior. Positive reinforcement is different because it adds a pleasant consequence rather than removing an unpleasant one. Classical conditioning does not fit because it involves stimulus association rather than consequences shaping behavior. Question 4. Teachers in a tutoring table wonder why a student receives an extra cleanup task after throwing paper and the behavior decreases. Which principle applies? Option A, shaping. Option B, positive reinforcement. Option C, negative reinforcement. Option D, positive punishment. The correct answer is option D. Positive punishment. This describes positive punishment because an unpleasant consequence is added to reduce an unwanted behavior. Shaping is not the best choice because it builds behavior through small reinforced steps. Positive reinforcement is different because it adds something desirable to increase behavior. Negative reinforcement does not fit because it increases behavior by removing something unpleasant. Question 5. Can PRIA treat an instructor rewards each closer attempt as a shy learner gradually speaks louder in class as evidence of which concept? Option A, shaping. Option B, extinction. Option C, fixed ratio schedule. Option D, reciprocal teaching. The correct answer is option A. Shaping. This describes shaping because successive approximations are reinforced until the desired behavior develops. Extinction is not the best choice because it reduces behavior by removing reinforcement. Fixed ratio schedule is different because it reinforces after a set number of responses, not gradual progress. Reciprocal teaching does not fit because it uses student-led reading strategies rather than behavior building. Question 6. If PRIA must answer quickly, which idea is signaled when an instructor stops laughing at off-task jokes and the jokes slowly fade away? Option A, extinction. Option B, modeling. Option C, punishment. Option D, spaced practice. The correct answer is option A. Extinction. This describes extinction because a previously reinforced behavior decreases when reinforcement is no longer provided. Modeling is not the best choice because it involves learning by watching others. Punishment is different because it adds or removes a consequence to reduce behavior more directly. Spaced practice does not fit because it improves memory through distributed study sessions. Question 7. Rather than guessing, Priya should connect. A learner keeps answering review questions because bonus points appear after unpredictable numbers of correct responses with which concept? Option A, variable ratio schedule. Option B, fixed interval schedule. Option C, variable interval schedule. Option D, fixed ratio schedule. The correct answer is option A, variable ratio schedule. This describes variable ratio schedule because reinforcement occurs after an unpredictable number of responses, which often produces steady responding. Fixed interval schedule is not the best choice because it rewards the first response after a set amount of time. Variable interval schedule is different because it rewards after changing time intervals rather than response counts. Fixed ratio schedule does not fit because it rewards after a predictable number of responses. Question 8. Curiosity rises when Priya reads that the class work hardest right before a quiz that happens every Friday. Which term solves the puzzle? Option A, variable ratio schedule. Option B, token economy. Option C, fixed interval schedule. Option D, fixed ratio schedule. The correct answer is option C, fixed interval schedule. This describes fixed interval schedule because reinforcement is available after a predictable amount of time has passed. Variable ratio schedule is not the best choice because it depends on unpredictable response counts. Token economy is different because it uses symbolic rewards exchanged for privileges. Fixed ratio schedule does not fit because it depends on a set number of responses. Question 9. A CLEP style scenario says a child copies a classmate's polite hand raising after seeing the classmate praised. Which answer best captures it for Priya? Option A, insight learning. Option B, observational learning. Option C, classical conditioning. Option D, trial and error learning. The correct answer is option B, observational learning. This describes observational learning because the learner changes behavior after watching another person and the consequences that follow. Insight learning is not the best choice because it involves a sudden solution, not imitation. Classical conditioning is different because it links stimuli rather than modeling behavior. Trial and error learning does not fit because it depends on personal attempts and feedback rather than watching a model. Question 10. Inside an after-school class, Priya studies why a student with strong belief in personal ability chooses harder practice problems. Which concept fits? Option A, self-concept. Option B, intrinsic motivation. Option C, external locus of control. Option D, self-efficacy. The correct answer is option D, self-efficacy. This describes self-efficacy because the learner's belief in their capability affects effort, persistence, and challenge choice. Self-concept is not the best choice because it is a broader view of oneself, not task-specific confidence. Intrinsic motivation is different because it refers to interest or enjoyment, not belief in ability. External locus of control does not fit because it attributes outcomes to outside forces rather than personal capability. Question 11. Looking at the clue that a learner's confidence, classroom behavior, and teacher response all influence one another, which idea should Priya remember? Option A, norm reference testing. Option B, reciprocal determinism. Option C, maturation. Option D, classical conditioning. The correct answer is option B, reciprocal determinism. This describes reciprocal determinism because personal factors, behavior, and environment interact in a two-way pattern. Norm reference testing is not the best choice because it compares scores to other test takers, maturation is different because it emphasizes biological growth rather than social interaction cycles. Classical conditioning does not fit because it focuses on learned stimulus associations. Question 12. Priya sees that an instructor gives sentence starters at first and slowly removes them as the class improved during a mini lecture. Which concept best explains it? Option A, scaffolding. Option B, extinction. Option C, summative assessment. Option D, standardization. The correct answer is option A. Scaffolding. This describes scaffolding because temporary support is provided and then withdrawn as learners become more independent. Extinction is not the best choice because it removes reinforcement to reduce behavior. Summative assessment is different because it evaluates learning after instruction is complete. Standardization does not fit because it keeps testing procedures the same for everyone. Question 13. When Priya notices that a learner can solve a problem with hints but not yet alone in a peer study circle, which idea is being tested? Option A, reliability. Option B, mastery learning. Option C, formal operational stage. Option D, zone of proximal development. The correct answer is option D. Zone of proximal development. This describes zone of proximal development because the task sits between independent ability and what the learner can do with support. Reliability is not the best choice because it concerns score consistency, not learning support. Mastery learning is different because it requires reaching a performance standard before moving on. Formal operational stage does not fit because it describes abstract reasoning, not support level. Question 14. During a Bright Review class, Priya studies a case where a child calls a zebra a horse because it fits an existing animal category. Which term fits best? Option A, accommodation. Option B, assimilation. Option C, conservation. Option D, encoding. The correct answer is option B. Assimilation. This describes assimilation because new information is interpreted using an existing mental schema. Accommodation is not the best choice because it changes the schema to fit new information. Conservation is different because it is understanding that quantity can stay the same despite appearance changes. Encoding does not fit because it is getting information into memory. Question 15. In a quiet study group, Priya asks why a child changes the animal category after learning zebras are not horses. Which answer names the idea? Option A, class inclusion. Option B, accommodation. Option C, rehearsal. Option D, assimilation. The correct answer is option B. Accommodation. This describes accommodation because an existing schema is revised when new information does not fit. Class inclusion is not the best choice because it involves understanding category relationships. Rehearsal is different because it is repeating information to maintain it in memory. Assimilation does not fit because it would force new information into an old schema. Question 16. After reading that a child solves conservation tasks but struggles with purely hypothetical logic, how should Priya label the concept? Option A, concrete operational thinking. Option B, sensoromotor thinking. Option C, pre-operational thinking. Option D, formal operational thinking. The correct answer is option A. Concrete operational thinking. This describes concrete operational thinking because children can reason logically about concrete objects but not fully abstract possibilities. Sensoromotor thinking is not the best choice because it centers on infant sensory and motor exploration. Pre-operational thinking is different because it often lacks conservation and logical reversibility. Formal operational thinking does not fit because it includes abstract and hypothetical reasoning. Question 17. For a short exam review, Priya connects a teen reasons through a hypothetical justice problem without needing physical examples with which principle? Option A, concrete operational thinking. Option B, pre-operational thinking. Option C, formal operational thinking. Option D, object permanence. The correct answer is option C. Formal operational thinking. This describes formal operational thinking because abstract and hypothetical reasoning are key features of this stage. Concrete operational thinking is not the best choice because it works best with tangible examples. Pre-operational thinking is different because it is marked by symbolic thought but limited logic. Object permanence does not fit because it is an infant understanding that objects still exist when unseen. Question 18. Could a case where an infant searches for a hidden toy instead of acting as if it disappeared be an example of which concept for Priya? Option A, conservation. Option B, object permanence. Option C, centration. Option D, egocentrism. The correct answer is option B. Object permanence. This describes object permanence because the child understands that objects continue to exist even when out of sight. Conservation is not the best choice because it involves understanding quantity despite appearance changes. Centration is different because it means focusing on one feature while ignoring others. Egocentrism does not fit because it involves difficulty taking another person's viewpoint. Question 19. Why would Priya Lincoln Elementary student gains pride from mastering reading and classroom skills to one major educational psychology idea? Option A, identity versus role confusion. Option B, industry versus inferiority. Option C, trust versus mistrust. Option D, generativity versus stagnation. The correct answer is option B. Industry versus inferiority. This describes industry versus inferiority because school-age children build competence through successful work and feedback. Identity versus role confusion is not the best choice because it is mainly an adolescent search for personal identity. Trust versus mistrust is different because it centers on infant caregiver reliability. Generativity versus stagnation does not fit because it focuses on adult contribution to others. Question 20. A practice item tells Priya that a teenager explores values, careers, and beliefs to answer who they are. Which concept is most likely? Option A, identity versus role confusion. Option B, autonomy versus shame. Option C, intimacy versus isolation. Option D, industry versus inferiority. The correct answer is option A. Identity versus role confusion. This describes identity versus role confusion because adolescents work toward a stable sense of self and direction. Autonomy versus shame is not the best choice because it describes toddlers building independence. Intimacy versus isolation is different because it usually involves young adult relationships. Industry versus inferiority does not fit because it focuses on school-age competence. Question 21. Before answering, Priya identifies that a student says cheating is wrong because rules and community expectations matter. Which term should be chosen? Option A, post-conventional morality. Option B, conventional morality. Option C, pre-conventional morality. Option D, moral realism. The correct answer is option B. Conventional morality. This describes conventional morality because moral reasoning is based on social approval, rules, and maintaining order. Post-conventional morality is not the best choice because it uses broad ethical principles beyond rules. Pre-conventional morality is different because it focuses on rewards and punishments. Moral realism does not fit because it treats rules as fixed and unchangeable. Question 22. Which choice helps Priya explain why a child avoids lying mainly to escape punishment or earn a reward in a teacher training scenario? Option A, identity achievement. Option B, post-conventional morality. Option C, pre-conventional morality. Option D, conventional morality. The correct answer is option C. Pre-conventional morality. This describes pre-conventional morality because moral decisions are driven by personal consequences such as punishment or reward. Identity achievement is not the best choice because it describes commitment after exploration, not moral reasoning. Post-conventional morality is different because it reasons from abstract principles and rights. Conventional morality does not fit because it emphasizes rules and approval from society. Question 23. How can Priya classify a classroom moment where a student argues that a rule should be challenged when it violates basic human rights? Option A, learned helplessness. Option B, post-conventional morality. Option C, conventional morality. Option D, pre-conventional morality. The correct answer is option B. Post-conventional morality. This describes post-conventional morality because moral reasoning is guided by universal principles rather than simple rule following. Learned helplessness is not the best choice because it concerns giving up after repeated failure. Conventional morality is different because it generally supports rules and social order. Pre-conventional morality does not fit because it focuses on personal gain or punishment. Question 24. Suppose Priya observes that an instructor plans choices that include music, movement, language, and spatial design. Which concept is shown? Option A, working memory. Option B, norm reference testing. Option C, G factor. Option D, multiple intelligences. The correct answer is option D. Multiple intelligences. This describes multiple intelligences because the approach treats ability as varied across different domains of strength. Working memory is not the best choice because it is a limited mental workspace. Norm reference testing is different because it compares learners to a group. G factor does not fit because it emphasizes a general intelligence factor. Question 25. While reviewing, Priya sees an assignment asks the class to solve problems, create products, and apply ideas in daily life. Which idea matches the situation? Option A, fluid intelligence. Option B, triarchic intelligence. Option C, criterion reference testing. Option D, multiple intelligences. The correct answer is option B. Triarchic intelligence. This describes triarchic intelligence because Sternberg's model highlights analytical, creative, and practical intelligence. Fluid intelligence is not the best choice because it refers to novel problem-solving ability. Criterion reference testing is different because it measures performance against standards. Multiple intelligences does not fit because it lists broader domains such as musical or bodily kinesthetic abilities. Question 26. One interesting clue says a learner studies child development because the topic feels genuinely fascinating. Which educational psychology term fits for Priya? Option A, performance goal. Option B, negative reinforcement. Option C, extrinsic motivation. Option D, intrinsic motivation. The correct answer is option D. Intrinsic motivation. This describes intrinsic motivation because the behavior is driven by interest, curiosity, or enjoyment of the activity itself. Performance goal is not the best choice because it focuses on looking competent compared with others. Negative reinforcement is different because it increases behavior by removing something unpleasant. Extrinsic motivation does not fit because it depends on outside rewards or pressures. Question 27. From this example, where a student completes extra practice mainly to earn a gift card, which answer should Priya select? Option A, extrinsic motivation. Option B, self-regulation. Option C, intrinsic motivation. Option D, mastery goal. The correct answer is option A. Extrinsic motivation. This describes extrinsic motivation because the behavior is driven by an outside reward rather than the activity itself. Self-regulation is not the best choice because it involves planning and monitoring one's learning. Intrinsic motivation is different because it comes from interest or enjoyment. Mastery goal does not fit because it emphasizes learning and improvement. Question 28. Students in a peer study circle discuss why a learner chooses difficult questions to improve understanding even if mistakes happen. Which concept gives the best explanation? Option A, fixed mindset. Option B, performance goal. Option C, avoidance goal. Option D, mastery goal. The correct answer is option D. Mastery goal. This describes mastery goal because the focus is on growth, learning, and skill development. Fixed mindset is not the best choice because it treats ability as unchangeable. Performance goal is different because it focuses on proving ability or outperforming others. Avoidance goal does not fit because it focuses on avoiding failure or embarrassment. Question 29. Teachers in a Bright Review class wonder why a student studies mainly to score higher than classmates and appear smart. Which principle applies? Option A, performance goal. Option B, intrinsic motivation. Option C, metacognition. Option D, mastery goal. The correct answer is option A, performance goal. This describes performance goal because the learner is focused on demonstrating ability relative to others. Intrinsic motivation is not the best choice because it centers on enjoyment or curiosity. Metacognition is different because it involves awareness and control of thinking. Mastery goal does not fit because it centers on improvement and understanding. Question 30. Can Priya treat a learner explains a failed test by blaming effort, task difficulty, luck, or ability as evidence of which concept? Option A, information processing theory. Option B, constructivism. Option C, attribution theory. Option D, classroom ecology. The correct answer is option C, attribution theory. This describes attribution theory because it examines how people explain causes of success and failure. Information processing theory is not the best choice because it explains how information moves through memory systems. Constructivism is different because it emphasizes building meaning from experience. Classroom ecology does not fit because it focuses on classroom environment patterns. Question 31. If Priya must answer quickly, which idea is signaled when a student stops trying because repeated failures made success feel impossible? Option A, growth mindset. Option B, positive transfer. Option C, self-efficacy. Option D, learned helplessness. The correct answer is option D, learned helplessness. This describes learned helplessness because repeated uncontrollable failure can reduce motivation and effort. Growth mindset is not the best choice because it supports belief that ability can improve. Positive transfer is different because it happens when prior learning helps new learning. Self-efficacy does not fit because it refers to belief in capability, not resignation. Question 32. Rather than guessing, Priya should connect a student treats mistakes as evidence that a skill can improve with strategy and effort with which concept? Option A, growth mindset. Option B, entity theory. Option C, fixed mindset. Option D, external attribution. The correct answer is option A, growth mindset. This describes growth mindset because ability is viewed as developable through effort, feedback, and better strategies. Entity theory is not the best choice because it is another way to describe fixed views of ability. Fixed mindset is different because it treats ability as stable and hard to change. External attribution does not fit because it places causes outside the learner. Question 33. Curiosity rises when Priya reads that a hungry, unsafe student struggles to focus on a challenging lesson. Which term solves the puzzle? Option A, Maslow hierarchy of needs. Option B, classical conditioning. Option C, Kohlberg theory. Option D, Bloom taxonomy. The correct answer is option A, Maslow hierarchy of needs. This describes Maslow hierarchy of needs because basic physiological and safety needs can affect readiness for higher level learning. Classical conditioning is not the best choice because it explains learned stimulus response associations. Kohlberg theory is different because it describes moral reasoning development. Bloom taxonomy does not fit because it classifies cognitive learning objectives. Question 34. A CLEP style scenario says a student loses track while solving a long mental math problem with many steps. Which answer best captures it for Priya? Option A, working memory. Option B, procedural memory. Option C, long-term memory. Option D, sensory memory. The correct answer is option A, working memory. This describes working memory because working memory is the limited mental space used to hold and process information temporarily. Procedural memory is not the best choice because it stores skills and habits. Long-term memory is different because it stores information over extended periods. Sensory memory does not fit because it briefly holds raw sensory input. Question 35. Inside a classroom discussion, Priya studies why a learner recalls a teaching theory studied weeks earlier. Which concept fits? Option A, selective attention. Option B, sensory memory. Option C, long-term memory. Option D, working memory. The correct answer is option C, long-term memory. This describes long-term memory because information retained over time is stored in long-term memory. Selective attention is not the best choice because it filters what receives mental focus. Sensory memory is different because it lasts only briefly after stimulation. Working memory does not fit because it is temporary and limited during active thinking. Question 36. Looking at the clue that a student turns a new vocabulary term into a meaningful example to remember it, which idea should Priya remember? Option A, encoding. Option B, validity. Option C, extinction. Option D, retrieval. The correct answer is option A, encoding. This describes encoding because encoding is the process of getting information into memory in a usable form. Validity is not the best choice because it concerns whether a test measures what it should. Extinction is different because it weakens a learned behavior. Retrieval does not fit because it involves pulling stored information back out. Question 37. Priya sees that a learner closes the book and answers questions from memory to strengthen recall during a teacher training scenario. Which concept best explains it? Option A, centration. Option B, massed practice. Option C, retrieval practice. Option D, summative assessment. The correct answer is option C, retrieval practice. This describes retrieval practice because actively recalling information improves later memory more than simply rereading. Centration is not the best choice because it means focusing on one feature of a situation. Massed practice is different because it compresses study into one long session. Summative assessment does not fit because it evaluates learning at the end of instruction. Question 38. When Priya notices that a student studies the same concepts in short sessions across several days in a final review session, which idea is being tested? Option A, shaping. Option B, massed practice. Option C, norming. Option D, spaced practice. The correct answer is option D, spaced practice. This describes spaced practice because learning is distributed over time, which usually supports stronger retention. Shaping is not the best choice because it reinforces gradual behavior changes. Massed practice is different because it packs study into one concentrated period. Norming does not fit because it creates comparison data for a test. Question 39. During a learning lab, Priya studies a case where a learner links a new theory to personal classroom experiences. Which term fits best? Option A, rote rehearsal. Option B, extinction. Option C, elaboration. Option D, reliability. The correct answer is option C, elaboration. This describes elaboration because new information is made more meaningful by connecting it to existing knowledge. Rote rehearsal is not the best choice because it repeats information without adding meaning. Extinction is different because it removes reinforcement to reduce behavior. Reliability does not fit because it refers to consistency of measurement. Question 40. In an after-school class, Priya asks why a student groups a long list of theorists into behaviorist, cognitive, and social categories. Which answer names the idea? Option A, response cost. Option B, overlearning. Option C, accommodation. Option D, chunking. The correct answer is option D, Chunking. This describes chunking because information is organized into meaningful units to reduce memory load. Response cost is not the best choice because it removes a privilege to reduce behavior. Overlearning is different because it continues practice after initial mastery. Accommodation does not fit because it changes a schema to fit new information. Question 41. After reading that a student checks which topics are weak and adjusts the study plan, how should Priya label the concept? Option A, metacognition. Option B, classical conditioning. Option C, extrinsic motivation. Option D, automaticity. The correct answer is option A. Metacognition. This describes metacognition because the learner monitors and controls their own thinking and learning strategies. Classical conditioning is not the best choice because it involves learned associations. Extrinsic motivation is different because it depends on external rewards. Automaticity does not fit because it means a skill requires little conscious effort. Question 42. For a short exam review, Priya connects knowledge from a statistics lesson helps a student understand test reliability with which principle? Option A, cognitive dissonance. Option B, transfer of learning. Option C, extinction. Option D, negative punishment. The correct answer is option B. Transfer of learning. This describes transfer of learning because previous learning influences performance in a new but related situation. Cognitive dissonance is not the best choice because it involves discomfort from conflicting beliefs. Extinction is different because it reduces behavior when reinforcement stops. Negative punishment does not fit because it removes something desirable to reduce behavior. Question 43. Could a case where an instructor gives a big picture concept map before a complex lesson begins be an example of which concept for Priya? Option A, token economy. Option B, random assignment. Option C, advance organizer. Option D, exit ticket. The correct answer is option C. Advance organizer. This describes advance organizer because a preview structure helps learners connect new information to prior knowledge. Token economy is not the best choice because it uses symbolic rewards. Random assignment is different because it places participants into groups by chance. Exit ticket does not fit because it checks understanding at the end of a lesson. Question 44. Why would Priya link a learner uses an existing mental framework about classrooms to understand a new teaching method to one major educational psychology idea? Option A, schema. Option B, percentile rank. Option C, reinforcer. Option D, rubric. The correct answer is option A. Schema. This describes schema because a schema is an organized knowledge structure used to interpret information. Percentile rank is not the best choice because it shows relative standing in a group. Reinforcer is different because it is a consequence that increases behavior. Rubric does not fit because it is a scoring guide. Question 45. A practice item tells Priya that too many visuals, terms, and steps overwhelm a learner during a first lesson. Which concept is most likely? Option A, cognitive load. Option B, reliability. Option C, egocentrism. Option D, intrinsic motivation. The correct answer is option A. Cognitive load. This describes cognitive load because working memory can become overloaded when too much information must be processed at once. Reliability is not the best choice because it concerns consistency of scores. Egocentrism is different because it means difficulty taking another viewpoint. Intrinsic motivation does not fit because it concerns interest and enjoyment. Question 46. Before answering, Priya identifies that the class build their own understanding through discussion, examples, and problem solving. Which term should be chosen? Option A, behaviorism. Option B, constructivism. Option C, standardization. Option D, maturation. The correct answer is option B. Constructivism. This describes constructivism because learners actively construct meaning rather than simply receive information. Behaviorism is not the best choice because it emphasizes observable behavior and consequences. Standardization is different because it keeps procedures uniform. Maturation does not fit because it emphasizes biological growth. Question 47. Which choice helps Priya explain why the class investigate a question, gather evidence, and develop an explanation in a morning lesson? Option A, inquiry-based learning. Option B, norm-referenced assessment. Option C, fixed ratio reinforcement. Option D, direct instruction. The correct answer is option A. Inquiry-based learning. This describes inquiry-based learning because learning begins with questions and exploration rather than only direct telling. Norm-referenced assessment is not the best choice because it compares students to one another. Fixed ratio reinforcement is different because it rewards after a set number of responses. Direct instruction does not fit because it uses clear teacher-led explanation and guided practice. Question 48. How can Priya classify a classroom moment where an instructor models a skill, guides practice, checks understanding, and gives feedback? Option A, portfolio assessment. Option B, discovery learning. Option C, peer tutoring. Option D, direct instruction. The correct answer is option D. Direct instruction. This describes direct instruction because the method uses explicit teaching steps and structured practice. Portfolio assessment is not the best choice because it collects work over time. Discovery learning is different because it expects students to uncover ideas with less direct guidance. Peer tutoring does not fit because it uses students helping students. Question 49. Suppose Priya observes that the class work in small groups with shared goals and individual accountability. Which concept is shown? Option A, competitive learning. Option B, independent study. Option C, cooperative learning. Option D, lecture method. The correct answer is option C. Cooperative learning. This describes cooperative learning because learners collaborate while each member remains responsible for contributing. Competitive learning is not the best choice because it ranks students against one another. Independent study is different because it relies on solo learning. Lecture method does not fit because it centers on teacher presentation. Question 50. While reviewing, Priya sees an instructor adjusts tasks, materials, and support based on learner readiness. Which idea matches the situation? Option A, random sampling. Option B, standardized instruction. Option C, differentiated instruction. Option D, summative assessment. The correct answer is option C. Differentiated instruction. This describes differentiated instruction because instruction is adapted to different needs while keeping meaningful learning goals. Random sampling is not the best choice because it selects participants for research. Standardized instruction is different because it delivers the same approach to all students. Summative assessment does not fit because it evaluates after instruction. Question 51. One interesting clue says a lesson offers text, audio, visuals, and different ways to show understanding from the start. Which educational psychology term fits for Priya? Option A, accommodation only. Option B, mastery grading. Option C, universal design for learning. Option D, tracking. The correct answer is option C. Universal design for learning. This describes universal design for learning because UDL plans flexible access and expression options before barriers appear. Accommodation only is not the best choice because it changes access for an individual after a need is identified. Mastery grading is different because it focuses on reaching standards before moving ahead. Tracking does not fit because it separates students into groups by perceived ability. Question 52. From this example, where an instructor uses a quick exit question to adjust tomorrow's lesson, which answer should Priya select? Option A, summative assessment. Option B, placement test. Option C, formative assessment. Option D, norm-referenced assessment. The correct answer is option C, formative assessment. This describes formative assessment because the assessment is used during learning to guide instruction and feedback. Summative assessment is not the best choice because it judges learning after instruction is complete. Placement test is different because it sorts students before instruction begins. Norm-referenced assessment does not fit because it compares performance to other learners. Question 53. Students in a final review session discuss why a final exam measures what the class learned after the unit ends. Which concept gives the best explanation? Option A, summative assessment. Option B, anecdotal record. Option C, diagnostic assessment. Option D, formative assessment. The correct answer is option A, summative assessment. This describes summative assessment because the assessment evaluates achievement at the end of a learning period. Anecdotal record is not the best choice because it is a brief observational note. Diagnostic assessment is different because it identifies starting strengths and needs. Formative assessment does not fit because it guides instruction during learning. Question 54. Teachers in a learning lab wonder why a student's score is judged against a fixed standard of mastery. Which principle applies? Option A, ipsative assessment. Option B, informal observation. Option C, norm-referenced assessment. Option D, criterion-referenced assessment. The correct answer is option D, criterion-referenced assessment. This describes criterion-referenced assessment because performance is compared with defined criteria rather than other students. Ipsative assessment is not the best choice because it compares a student to their own past performance. Informal observation is different because it is not necessarily tied to a fixed standard. Norm-referenced assessment does not fit because it compares students to a reference group. Question 55. Can Priya treat a score report shows how a student performed compared with a national sample as evidence of which concept? Option A, norm-referenced assessment. Option B, authentic assessment. Option C, formative assessment. Option D, criterion-referenced assessment. The correct answer is option A, norm-referenced assessment. This describes norm-referenced assessment because the score is interpreted relative to other test takers. Authentic assessment is not the best choice because it uses real-world tasks. Formative assessment is different because it is used during learning for improvement. Criterion-referenced assessment does not fit because it compares performance to a standard. Question 56. If Priya must answer quickly, which idea is signaled when a test gives similar results when the same skill is measured repeatedly? Option A, percentile rank. Option B, bias. Option C, validity. Option D, reliability. The correct answer is option D, reliability. This describes reliability because reliability means scores are consistent across time, items, or raters. Percentile rank is not the best choice because it reports relative standing. Bias is different because it concerns unfair advantage or disadvantage. Validity does not fit because it asks whether the test measures the intended construct. Question 57. Rather than guessing, Priya should connect a math test actually measures math reasoning instead of reading speed with which concept? Option A, validity. Option B, reliability. Option C, standard error. Option D, inter-rater agreement. The correct answer is option A, validity. This describes validity because validity concerns whether an assessment measures what it claims to measure. Reliability is not the best choice because it concerns consistency, not meaning. Standard error is different because it estimates score uncertainty. Inter-rater agreement does not fit because it is one form of consistency between scorers. Question 58. Curiosity rises when Priya reads that all examines receive the same directions, timing, and scoring rules. Which term solves the puzzle? Option A, portfolio assessment. Option B, authentic assessment. Option C, standardized test. Option D, informal assessment. The correct answer is option C, standardized test. This describes standardized test because standardization keeps testing conditions uniform so scores can be interpreted fairly. Portfolio assessment is not the best choice because it collects multiple pieces of work over time. Authentic assessment is different because it asks students to perform realistic tasks. Informal assessment does not fit because it may be flexible and teacher-made. Question 59. A CLEP-style scenario says the class design a real classroom plan instead of only selecting answers on a test. Which answer best captures it for PRIA? Option A, standardized assessment. Option B, norm-referenced assessment. Option C, authentic assessment. Option D, forced choice test. The correct answer is option C, authentic assessment. This describes authentic assessment because students demonstrate learning through realistic tasks and products. Standardized assessment is not the best choice because it uses uniform procedures and scoring. Norm-referenced assessment is different because it compares performance to a group. Forced choice test does not fit because it limits responses to provided options. Question 60. Inside a quiet study group, PRIA studies why the class receive a scoring guide describing levels for evidence, clarity, and accuracy. Which concept fits? Option A, rubric. Option B, syllabus. Option C, norm table. Option D, checklist. The correct answer is option A, rubric. This describes rubric because a rubric lists criteria and performance levels for judging work. Syllabus is not the best choice because it outlines course policies and topics. Norm table is different because it helps interpret scores against a sample. Checklist does not fit because it often marks whether elements are present without quality levels. Question 61. Looking at the clue that an instructor moves the class from remembering facts to evaluating arguments and creating projects, which idea should PRIA remember? Option A, Maslow hierarchy. Option B, Erikson stages. Option C, Bloom taxonomy. Option D, Kohlberg stages. The correct answer is option C, Bloom taxonomy. This describes Bloom taxonomy because the taxonomy organizes cognitive tasks from lower to higher levels of thinking. Maslow hierarchy is not the best choice because it organizes human needs. Erikson stages is different because it describes psychosocial development. Kohlberg stages does not fit because it describes moral reasoning. Question 62. PRIA sees that a student with a qualifying disability has a legal plan with goals and services during a morning lesson. Which concept best explains it? Option A, rubric. Option B, lesson plan. Option C, norming report. Option D, individualized education program. The correct answer is option D, individualized education program. This describes individualized education program because an IEP documents specialized instruction, supports, goals, and services for eligible students. Rubric is not the best choice because it scores performance. Lesson plan is different because it guides a teacher's daily instruction but is not a special education legal document. Norming report does not fit because it summarizes comparison data. Question 63. When PRIA notices that a student with a disability learns with non-disabled peers as much as appropriate in a practice test workshop, which idea is being tested? Option A, standardization. Option B, least restrictive environment. Option C, tracking. Option D, retention. The correct answer is option B, least restrictive environment. This describes least restrictive environment because students should be educated in settings that provide access while avoiding unnecessary separation. Standardization is not the best choice because it keeps testing procedures uniform. Tracking is different because it groups students by perceived ability. Retention does not fit because it keeps a student in the same grade. Question 64. During a tutoring table, Priya studies a case where a learner gets extended time while the learning target stays the same. Which term fits best? Option A, acceleration. Option B, accommodation. Option C, punishment. Option D, modification. The correct answer is option B, accommodation. This describes accommodation because access is adjusted without changing the essential learning expectation. Acceleration is not the best choice because it moves a learner ahead faster. Punishment is different because it reduces unwanted behavior through consequences. Modification does not fit because it changes the learning expectation or task level. Question 65. In a classroom discussion, Priya asks why a learner completes a simplified assignment with different learning expectations. Which answer names the idea? Option A, modification. Option B, scaffolding. Option C, accommodation. Option D, universal screening. The correct answer is option A, modification. This describes modification because the task or standard is changed to fit the learner's instructional level. Scaffolding is not the best choice because it gives temporary support toward the same goal. Accommodation is different because it changes access while keeping the same standard. Universal screening does not fit because it checks all learners for risk. Question 66. After reading that a strong thinker struggles with accurate word decoding and benefits from structured phonics, how should Priya label the concept? Option A, dyslexia support. Option B, dyscalculia support. Option C, behavior contract. Option D, percentile rank. The correct answer is option A, dyslexia support. This describes dyslexia support because dyslexia commonly affects word reading and decoding, so explicit structured literacy support can help. Dyscalculia support is not the best choice because it focuses on math-related difficulties. Behavior contract is different because it targets behavior goals. Percentile rank does not fit because it reports relative test standing. Question 67. For a short exam review, Priya connects a learner focuses better with short tasks, movement breaks, and clear routines with which principle? Option A, criterion testing. Option B, gifted compacting. Option C, classical conditioning. Option D, ADHD classroom support. The correct answer is option D, ADHD classroom support. This describes ADHD classroom support because structured routines and attention supports can reduce distractions and support self-management. Criterion testing is not the best choice because it compares performance to standards. Gifted compacting is different because it removes already mastered work for advanced learners. Classical conditioning does not fit because it links stimuli with responses. Question 68. Could a case where an advanced learner skips mastered work and uses time for deeper enrichment be an example of which concept for Priya? Option A, remediation. Option B, retention. Option C, extinction. Option D, curriculum compacting. The correct answer is option D, curriculum compacting. This describes curriculum compacting because already mastered content is reduced so the learner can pursue more challenging work. Remediation is not the best choice because it retakes skills that are not yet mastered. Retention is different because it repeats a grade or course. Extinction does not fit because it removes reinforcement to reduce a behavior. Question 69. Why would Priya link examples, discussion norms, and materials connect learning to the class cultural backgrounds to one major educational psychology idea? Option A, standardized testing. Option B, colorblind teaching. Option C, culturally responsive teaching. Option D, ability tracking. The correct answer is option C, culturally responsive teaching. This describes culturally responsive teaching because instruction uses students' cultural knowledge and experiences as assets for learning. Standardized testing is not the best choice because it keeps procedures uniform. Colorblind teaching is different because it ignores cultural differences rather than using them constructively. Ability tracking does not fit because it separates students by perceived ability. Question 70. A practice item tells Priya that an assessment unfairly disadvantages a group because examples depend on unfamiliar cultural knowledge. Which concept is most likely? Option A, reliability. Option B, validity evidence. Option C, test bias. Option D, standard deviation. The correct answer is option C, test bias. This describes test bias because bias occurs when irrelevant factors give some groups an unfair advantage or disadvantage. Reliability is not the best choice because it concerns score consistency. Validity evidence is different because it supports appropriate score interpretation. Standard deviation does not fit because it describes score spread. Question 71. Before answering, Priya identifies that the class transition quickly because procedures for materials and movement are practiced daily. Which term should be chosen? Option A, random reinforcement. Option B, classroom routines. Option C, accommodation. Option D, summative testing. The correct answer is option B, classroom routines. This describes classroom routines because clear repeated procedures reduce confusion and support orderly learning time. Random reinforcement is not the best choice because it gives rewards unpredictably. Accommodation is different because it adjusts access for a learner. Summative testing does not fit because it evaluates final achievement. Question 72. Which choice helps Priya explain why the class earn points for target behaviors and trade them for privileges in a mini lecture? Option A, classical conditioning. Option B, logical consequence. Option C, token economy. Option D, mastery learning. The correct answer is option C, token economy. This describes token economy because tokens serve as conditioned reinforcers that can be exchanged for backup rewards. Classical conditioning is not the best choice because it links two stimuli rather than using exchangeable rewards. Logical consequence is different because it is connected naturally to misbehavior. Mastery learning does not fit because it requires meeting standards before moving forward. Question 73. How can Priya classify a classroom moment where a student who misuses lab materials must repair the setup and review safety steps? Option A, unrelated punishment. Option B, extinction. Option C, negative reinforcement. Option D, logical consequence. The correct answer is option D, logical consequence. This describes logical consequence because the consequence is related to the behavior and helps restore responsible action. Unrelated punishment is not the best choice because it does not connect meaningfully to the behavior. Extinction is different because it withholds reinforcement to reduce behavior. Negative reinforcement does not fit because it increases behavior by removing an unpleasant condition. Question 74. Suppose Priya observes that an instructor spots small off-task behavior early while continuing the lesson smoothly. Which concept is shown? Option A, self-efficacy. Option B, wait time. Option C, scaffolding. Option D, withitness. The correct answer is option D, withitness. This describes withitness because withitness means awareness of classroom events and quick response before problems grow. Self-efficacy is not the best choice because it is belief in capability. Wait time is different because it is a pause after asking a question. Scaffolding does not fit because it gives temporary learning support. Question 75. While reviewing, Priya sees an instructor pauses several seconds after asking a question before calling on anyone. Which idea matches the situation? Option A, withitness. Option B, response cost. Option C, wait time. Option D, distributed practice. The correct answer is option C, wait time. This describes wait time because wait time gives students more processing time and often improves response quality. Witness is not the best choice because it is awareness of classroom behavior. Response cost is different because it removes a privilege after behavior. Distributed practice does not fit because it spreads study sessions over time. Question 76. One interesting clue says a prompt asks the class to explain several possible reasons instead of choosing one fact. Which educational psychology term fits for PRIA? Option A, fixed ratio schedule. Option B, recall cue. Option C, closed question. Option D, open-ended questioning. The correct answer is option D. Open-ended questioning. This describes open-ended questioning because open-ended questions invite elaboration, reasoning, and multiple defensible responses. Fixed ratio schedule is not the best choice because it reinforces after a set number of responses. Recall cue is different because it simply prompts memory of stored information. Closed question does not fit because it usually has one brief answer. Question 77. From this example, where an instructor tells a learner exactly what worked and what to revise next, which answer should PRIA select? Option A, random correction. Option B, effective feedback. Option C, general praise. Option D, summative grade only. The correct answer is option B. Effective feedback. This describes effective feedback because specific, timely feedback helps learners close the gap between current and desired performance. Random correction is not the best choice because it lacks targeted connection to the learning goal. General praise is different because it may feel positive but gives little guidance. Summative grade only does not fit because it reports performance without next steps. Question 78. Students in a practice test workshop discuss why a student sets a goal, monitors progress, changes strategies, and reflects after studying. Which concept gives the best explanation? Option A, operant conditioning. Option B, self-regulated learning. Option C, object permanence. Option D, social facilitation. The correct answer is option B. Self-regulated learning. This describes self-regulated learning because learners actively plan, monitor, control, and evaluate their learning. Operant conditioning is not the best choice because it emphasizes consequences shaping behavior. Object permanence is different because it concerns infant understanding of hidden objects. Social facilitation does not fit because it concerns performance changes in the presence of others. Question 79. Teachers in a tutoring table wonder why the class take turns summarizing, questioning, clarifying, and predicting during reading. Which principle applies? Option A, direct instruction. Option B, random assignment. Option C, token economy. Option D, reciprocal teaching. The correct answer is option D. Reciprocal teaching. This describes reciprocal teaching because the strategy uses structured dialogue to improve comprehension. Direct instruction is not the best choice because it is mainly teacher-led explanation and practice. Random assignment is different because it assigns participants to groups by chance. Token economy does not fit because it uses symbolic rewards. Question 80. Can PRIA treat one student guides another through practice while both receive learning benefits as evidence of which concept? Option A, lecture. Option B, portfolio assessment. Option C, tracking. Option D, peer tutoring. The correct answer is option D. Peer tutoring. This describes peer tutoring because students support each other's learning through structured helper-learner roles. Lecture is not the best choice because it is teacher presentation to a group. Portfolio assessment is different because it collects work samples over time. Tracking does not fit because it separates students into ability groups. Question 81. If PRIA must answer quickly, which idea is signaled when a child identifies that cat and cup begin with the same spoken sound? Option A, phonics. Option B, morphology. Option C, phonemic awareness. Option D, syntax. The correct answer is option C. Phonemic awareness. This describes phonemic awareness because the learner is attending to individual sounds in spoken language. Phonics is not the best choice because it links sounds to printed letters. Morphology is different because it studies meaningful word parts. Syntax does not fit because it concerns sentence structure. Question 82. Rather than guessing, Priya should connect a learner improves a skill after watching a confident model demonstrate each step with which concept? Option A, Maslow needs. Option B, Skinner shaping. Option C, Piaget conservation. Option D, Bandura modeling. The correct answer is option D, Bandura modeling. This describes Bandura modeling because Bandura emphasized learning by observing models and the outcomes of their actions. Maslow needs is not the best choice because it explains motivation through layered needs. Skinner shaping is different because it reinforces gradual behavior changes through consequences. Piaget conservation does not fit because it concerns logical understanding of quantity. Question 83. Curiosity rises when Priya reads that family, school, peers, community, and culture all shape a child's development. Which term solves the puzzle? Option A, Brenner ecological systems. Option B, information processing. Option C, Erikson psychosocial stages. Option D, Kohlberg moral stages. The correct answer is option A, Brenner ecological systems. This describes Brenner ecological systems because development is influenced by nested environmental systems around a child. Information processing is not the best choice because it compares thinking to mental processing systems. Erikson psychosocial stages is different because it focuses on lifespan social-emotional conflicts. Kohlberg moral stages does not fit because it focuses on moral reasoning. Question 84. A CLEP-style scenario says a young child uses a caregiver as a safe base and seeks comfort after stress. Which answer best captures it for Priya? Option A, avoidant attachment. Option B, authoritarian parenting. Option C, secure attachment. Option D, industry versus inferiority. The correct answer is option C, secure attachment. This describes secure attachment because secure attachment involves trust in caregiver availability and comfort. Avoidant attachment is not the best choice because it shows reduced seeking of comfort. Authoritarian parenting is different because it describes strict parenting style. Industry versus inferiority does not fit because it is a school-age psychosocial conflict. Question 85. Inside an after-school class, Priya studies why two infants differ early in activity level, mood, and adaptability. Which concept fits? Option A, moral reasoning. Option B, criterion validity. Option C, self-concept. Option D, temperament. The correct answer is option D, temperament. This describes temperament because temperament refers to biologically influenced patterns of emotional and behavioral response. Moral reasoning is not the best choice because it concerns judgments about right and wrong. Criterion validity is different because it links test scores to an outcome. Self-concept does not fit because it is a person's view of self. Question 86. Looking at the clue that a child says "good" because a regular grammar rule is applied too broadly, which idea should Priya remember? Option A, telegraphic speech. Option B, babbling. Option C, language overgeneralization. Option D, code switching. The correct answer is option C, language overgeneralization. This describes language overgeneralization because the child applies a learned language rule to an irregular case. Telegraphic speech is not the best choice because it uses short two-word phrases. Babbling is different because it is early sound play. Code switching does not fit because it shifts language varieties based on context. Question 87. Priya sees that the class explain whether a character should break a rule to help someone in need during a mini-lecture. Which concept best explains it? Option A, moral dilemma assessment. Option B, behavior checklist. Option C, aptitude test. Option D, achievement test. The correct answer is option A, moral dilemma assessment. This describes moral dilemma assessment because moral dilemmas reveal the reasoning behind judgments, not just the choice itself. Behavior checklist is not the best choice because it records observed behaviors. Aptitude test is different because it predicts future learning potential. Achievement test does not fit because it measures learned academic content. Question 88. When Priya notices that a study finds that homework time and test scores rise together without proving cause in a peer study circle, which idea is being tested? Option A, experimental research. Option B, ethnography. Option C, correlational research. Option D, case study. The correct answer is option C, correlational research. This describes correlational research because correlation shows a relationship between variables but does not establish causation. Experimental research is not the best choice because it manipulates variables to test cause and effect. Ethnography is different because it studies culture through immersion. Case study does not fit because it examines one person or small group deeply. Question 89. During a Bright Review class, Priya studies a case where participants are placed into tutoring or no tutoring groups by chance. Which term fits best? Option A, matching. Option B, random sampling. Option C, random assignment. Option D, convenience sampling. The correct answer is option C, random assignment. This describes random assignment because chance placement helps make groups similar before the treatment begins. Matching is not the best choice because it pairs participants on key traits. Random sampling is different because it selects participants from a population. Convenience sampling does not fit because it uses whoever is easily available. Question 90. In a quiet study group, Priya asks why a researcher changes the type of feedback the class receive. Which answer names the idea? Option A, confounding variable. Option B, control variable. Option C, independent variable. Option D, dependent variable. The correct answer is option C, independent variable. This describes independent variable because the independent variable is the factor the researcher manipulates. Confounding variable is not the best choice because it is an unwanted factor that may affect results. Control variable is different because it is held constant. Dependent variable does not fit because it is the measured outcome. Question 91. After reading that a researcher measures quiz scores after using two different teaching methods, how should Priya label the concept? Option A, random assignment. Option B, dependent variable. Option C, independent variable. Option D, extraneous variable. The correct answer is option B, dependent variable. This describes dependent variable because the dependent variable is the outcome measured to see whether the treatment had an effect. Random assignment is not the best choice because it is a grouping procedure. Independent variable is different because it is the factor manipulated. Extraneous variable does not fit because it is an outside influence. Question 92. For a short exam review, Priya connects one group receives regular instruction while another receives a new memory strategy with which principle? Option A, population. Option B, sample. Option C, experimental group. Option D, control group. The correct answer is option D, control group. This describes control group because the control group provides a comparison for judging the effect of the treatment. Population is not the best choice because it is the larger group of interest. Sample is different because it is the set of participants studied. Experimental group does not fit because it receives the treatment being tested. Question 93. Could a case where an instructor adds all quiz scores and divides by the number of the class be an example of which concept for Priya? Option A, mean. Option B, median. Option C, mode. Option D, range. The correct answer is option A, mean. This describes mean because the mean is the arithmetic average of a set of scores. Median is not the best choice because it is the middle score. Mode is different because it is the most frequent score. Range does not fit because it is the difference between highest and lowest scores. Question 94. Why would Priya link an instructor wants to know how spread out the class scores are around the average to one major educational psychology idea? Option A, standard deviation. Option B, percentile rank. Option C, raw score. Option D, mean. The correct answer is option A. Standard deviation. This describes standard deviation because standard deviation describes typical distance of scores from the mean. Percentile rank is not the best choice because it shows relative standing. Raw score is different because it is the number of points earned. Mean does not fit because it gives the average but not spread. Question 95. A practice item tells Priya that a student's report says the score is higher than the scores of 80% of the norm group. Which concept is most likely? Option A, grade equivalent. Option B, standard deviation. Option C, percentage correct. Option D, percentile rank. The correct answer is option D. Percentile rank. This describes percentile rank because percentile rank tells the percentage of comparison scores at or below a student's score. Grade equivalent is not the best choice because it estimates grade level performance, often imperfectly. Standard deviation is different because it describes score spread. Percentage correct does not fit because it reports items answered correctly. Question 96. Before answering, Priya identifies that the class improved partly because they know they are being studied. Which term should be chosen? Option A, placebo effect. Option B, observer bias. Option C, Hawthorne effect. Option D, testing effect. The correct answer is option C. Hawthorne effect. This describes Hawthorne effect because participants may change behavior simply because they are receiving attention in a study. Placebo effect is not the best choice because it involves improvement from belief in a treatment. Observer bias is different because it occurs when researcher expectations shape recording. Testing effect does not fit because it improves learning through retrieval practice. Question 97. Which choice helps Priya explain why the class improve over a semester because they naturally grew older, not because of the program in a teacher training scenario? Option A, instrumentation threat. Option B, selection bias. Option C, regression to the mean. Option D, maturation threat. The correct answer is option D. Maturation threat. This describes maturation threat because changes due to natural development can threaten conclusions about a treatment's effect. Instrumentation threat is not the best choice because it occurs when measurement changes over time. Selection bias is different because it occurs when groups differ before a treatment. Regression to the mean does not fit because it occurs when extreme scores move closer to average later. Question 98. How can Priya classify a classroom moment where a researcher records detailed notes about classroom interactions instead of only counting scores? Option A, qualitative observation. Option B, standardized testing. Option C, meta-analysis. Option D, random assignment. The correct answer is option A. Qualitative observation. This describes qualitative observation because qualitative methods focus on rich descriptions and meanings in context. Standardized testing is not the best choice because it uses uniform measurement procedures. Meta-analysis is different because it statistically combines many studies. Random assignment does not fit because it places participants into groups by chance. Question 99. Suppose Priya observes that an instructor studies the effect of a new discussion routine in the teacher's own classroom. Which concept is shown? Option A, longitudinal research. Option B, laboratory experiment. Option C, survey research. Option D, action research. The correct answer is option D. Action research. This describes action research because practitioners investigate their own settings to improve local practice. Longitudinal research is not the best choice because it follows participants over time. Laboratory experiment is different because it tests variables in a controlled setting. Survey research does not fit because it gathers responses from questionnaires. Question 100. While reviewing, Priya's families are told the study purpose, risks, and rights before agreeing to participate. Which idea matches the situation? Option A, random assignment. Option B, confidentiality. Option C, informed consent. Option D, debriefing. The correct answer is option C. Informed consent. This describes informed consent because participants or guardians must understand key information and voluntarily agree. Random assignment is not the best choice because it assigns participants to groups by chance. Confidentiality is different because it protects private data. Debriefing does not fit because it explains details after participation.